Ember users. Specially crafted edition for all of you, our lovely guests. Seems great. OK, well, I'm going to go ahead and start off here, and then Ryan can struggle with getting my live stream up. And then I'm going to have him come up here and present. That's what we're going to do. Ember NYC, welcome to our nice little December meetup here. Thank you, Addepar, for hosting us. Some announcements of things that are going on. I don't know who has planned their EmberConf stuff yet, but EmberConf is coming up the 16th to the 18th in Portland, Oregon. Come join us in wonderful, scenic Portland, Oregon. A cool thing to go ahead and take a look at that came out in the last, I think it's actually almost a month old at this point, but the EmberMap fellows over here recorded an excellent, I guess, podcast, video cast episode with Yehuda Katz. That was really great. It was pretty rambling, so the best way to consume it is actually in the tweet stream that Sam put out. It's like 9 tweets, each with a 20-second video, 40-second video of Yehuda. And it's a great way to get a little insight into stuff that Yehuda is thinking about and get some interesting perspective out of him without needing to watch the 2-hour, 3-hour version. Yeah,
it took me a while to pick
up
those nuggets.
There's the extended scene edition, another 2 hours of outtakes with Yehuda. Yeah. And then the other thing is that Ember 3.15 is being released this week. I think the thing that the current status is that Ember data is being released tomorrow, and Ember CLI has to be released last. So that means that hopefully Ember CLI is released tomorrow, and then that'll be the Octane release. So that should be pretty fun and exciting on Friday or Saturday. And then some other stuff that's coming up, a whole bunch of winter things, and we'll see you in January. We're going to start off tonight. Ryan's going to come up and talk to us about testing in Ember Fastboot with a lightning talk. We're going to take a quick break and chat a little bit more, and then Cory is going to maybe live code us, maybe present his way through Ember Table. Ember Table's library that we use a lot here at Addepar, so great for people from Addepar and outside to see. It's got some cool stuff. And then downstairs, somewhere on the first floor, there is have you been to it?
Yes, I have.
Then you know where it is.
Exactly.
Okay, then we'll follow Jiaying over to the Bergamos, which is the new bar on the first floor of our building. So conveniently located for all your meetup needs. And I think that's about it, unless anyone wants to say anything to the group. I suggest happy holidays. Yeah, okay.
Thank you.
So does everyone here know Ryan? Does everyone know Ryan? No? Fabian doesn't know Ryan. Yeah. This is Ryan Toronto. Ryan and Sam run a fantastic company here in New York that does Ember.js training, I think largely focused around videos and maybe a little bit of consulting on the side and things like that. But they're fantastic. They know a lot. And Ryan's going to talk to us about FastBoot, the server-side rendering tool for Ember, and testing with it. Round of applause for Ryan.
Thanks, Matt. OK, so this is my first time live coding, so you know what they say, right? Yeah. OK, so here I've got a FastBoot app. This is just a small Ember app I put together today.
Can you make your screen resolution, maybe?
Bump this up?
Maybe even bump the whole, just like if you were making a video.
Oh, yeah.
I think it's probably the easiest thing to do. Might as well take our time and get it nice, yeah?
You know, I think this, well, let's try this. Should I do the high def mode?
Yeah, 720, yep. And then you can put this, yeah, exactly, Command 0 to this guy or whatever, yeah.
How's that look?
Better, I think.
Cool. OK, so here I've got an Ember app. It's got 2 routes, Route A and Route B. Click Route B. It says B. Actually, I think this is FastBoot? Okay.
Why can't it render?
Because it can't read property get item of undefined. So the reason that it can't render is if we come over to code and we open up route B, routes B, I'm using window.localstorage.getItemB. And, you know, I opened up a guest window before. And I'm just going to do local storage.set item B to B. And so if I go back to the client side rendering, so if I'm back at the client side rendering, I can see this B is showing up now. But again, in FastBoot, this doesn't work. Does anyone know why? Because Windows isn't a thing. Yeah, FastBoot runs on the server. I think it's like most servers are Linux, and they don't have Windows. So on the server, there's no browser. There's no browser. There's no window object. No browser, no window object, and so like this just doesn't make sense, and it crashes our FastBoot app. When we were adding FastBoot to our site, we ran into like lots of little stuff like this. You know, not like a route returning window local storage, but just things like using DOM APIs. You know, kind of like going outside of Ember in some certain cases, and you know, you just run into this stuff. Also, too, like Ember add-ons that wrap jQuery plugins will also have references to like document and window, and that will crash these pages. So what we did is we started adding tests specifically written for FastBoot, and that's what I want to show today. So if I come over to terminal, I can Ember install Ember CLI fast. Out some stuff and get the boilerplate taken care of for us. And so I guess the first thing we want to do is we want to visit the B route, and then we want to assert that like that giant B shows up. And if we come back here, I think I have a test ID. So I have a test ID called letter. So we're going to use assert DOM. And we'll say assert DOM data test ID single quote. Is it has text? Has text B. And then let's start our test server. Okay, there we go. We got an error. Element data test ID letter should exist. It doesn't. So usually when I'm like debugging these FastBoot tests, these FastBoot errors, just like I would write an acceptance test, I like to use pause test. So I can use this.pause test. And now in the little testing window, I can see the FastBoot rendered output of my Ember app. So if we open up the B route, how should we fix this? Any ideas?
I'm guessing there's a helper that's pause query or something.
Yeah, exactly. There is a FastBoot service, and we can say, you know, only we'll do this, like if not this.fastboot is FastBoot. If we're not in FastBoot, use local storage. Otherwise, we'll just return the string B. And we have to import the service injection. So import inject as service.
Spelling error on one
Thank you. Okay, so now, there we go. This is the FastBoot rendered application in our Ember tests, and we can see that, you know, this looks right, and we can use a resume test, and there we go. All of our tests are passing. I'm just going to go and delete this pause test. And yay, my test suite is green. So this is kind of like the basic idea of how I write FastBoot tests. Take a page, use pause test, find some stuff to assert. FastBoot testing has a few helpers for, like, we use FastBoot for OG tags and title tags. So FastBoot testing makes it easy to kind of assert that stuff, since I think that's might be a reason you're using FastBoot. There's a add-on doc site that documents all this stuff. It also has, like, some tools for mocking the network. So you can, if your pages are, like, fetching data, you can mock that stuff. Yeah, so that's pretty much it. Questions or anything?
How is it, can you explain, like, the mechanism that, what is going on behind the scenes that cause it to know, are all of your tests running through FastBoot now after you, like,
Yeah,
test this all?
no, that's a great question. The question is how, like, what's going on? Like, how does this know, what's, like, what the output is, and are all the tests, like, running in a FastBoot environment? The way this works is FastBoot testing. So these tests, like this QUnit test runner, this is all running locally on your browser. It makes an AJAX request to Ember CLI. Let me find it. It makes this AJAX request to Ember CLI, and it basically asks Ember CLI, like, hey, generate the HTML for this B route, and then you can pass in a whole bunch of options, like browser request headers, that sort of stuff. And then we generate the HTML in Ember CLI and then ship it back to the browser, and the browser renders it here. And the awesome thing is, once you have HTML rendered in this area, you can use QUnit DOM to assert, which is, I mean, you can't beat assertions that look like this. It's just beautiful.
I didn't notice the import visit from.
Yeah, that's the magic. I wanted to make this look and feel as close to acceptance testing as possible. So yeah.
Tell me about cleanup mocks.
Yeah, tell me about cleanup mocks, these network requests. So we'll, between every test run, we'll set up certain mocks, like network requests, and we want to tear those mocks down for the next test run. So basically this setup hooks right here is going to first, like, when a test ends, it's going to clean up all the mess that it made on the server, in the client, in Ember CLI, sorry, in the Ember CLI process.
What does it need to clean up that's not taken care of by FastBoot's disposal of the...
We use the same FastBoot instance for every test, because we don't want to tear it down and recreate it between test runs. And then also there's some stuff outside of FastBoot that we mock, like network requests. So we'll mock calls to, it's like /b.json, and when a test ends, we want to get rid of that mock. So cleanup mocks is a way of the browser signaling to the process, like, tear everything down.
So is there a mechanism for mocking out the like contents of the database or an XHR that the FastBoot might make?
Yes, yeah. So there is this import mock server here, and you can do, like,
Commented area.
you can do, like, mock server.get b.json, and we would return, like, you know, letter C, because that's what we do. And then over here, we could...
Doing it live.
Yeah, I don't know if this is going to work. We can do fetch b.json, and then back here, let's do like pause test. Okay, thank you. Now this is... Did I not? Oh, I didn't save my route.
Template too.
I think I am. Okay, fetch is not defined, so I have to Ember install Ember fetch, and then we can. Is it import fetch from? I think with Ember fetch you just yeah.
Like what we tell people not to do.
Uh-oh, what is this?
Yeah, it's fetch from fetch.
Fetch from fetch. Object response. All right, let's
Do dot then
in the route.
yeah dot then response on JSON.
Good call. Response.json, and then did I like wrap this?
Invoke the JSON method. I've been making a lot of demo apps recently. There you go.
And then with the JSON, I want to return JSON.letter, right? Because it's like the model hook is using this.
Fetch best API.
There we go, and there. So we get C. So this is like, yeah, this is great for like, you know, the people that maintain Mirage don't have it working in Node yet, so we have to use this.
I tried to give you a way to do it. This ain't no.
Yeah, so network mocking. The network mocking is pretty, you know, this is like pretty simplistic. I think we do want to get Mirage working, and that's sort of, I think rather than extend this to make this more featureful, it would just getting Mirage working in Node would be the next step. Alex, I know you had a question.
Yeah, so let's say you would have a test suite, then you want to introduce FastBoot. So how do you go about that?
Yeah, that's great. Say you already have an existing test suite and you want to introduce FastBoot, how do you go about that? I think you make new tests like this for your FastBoot app. I noticed when we added FastBoot, we had a whole bunch of acceptance tests, but they were all testing behavior. So it was like, visit this page, fill in this form, click submit, that sort of stuff. With FastBoot, you're only doing a render. Because after the app is rendered, Ember actually will blow it all away and just re-render client side. So you're only testing render. Our FastBoot tests, like each page only has like a handful of tests. You know, title, OG tags, and then like, you know, the content. But basically the content isn't an error. That's if you get there, yeah.
Do you put in like a FastBoot test for every page that you're rendering, or do you?
In theory.
Yeah, in theory.
Okay.
No. I think we drive it largely by like if there's an error. That's the point where I go and add a FastBoot. When I added FastBoot to our website, we did not have this library.
You hadn't made it yet.
Yeah, so lazy. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe. I mean, you know, generally I found like our FastBoot errors just are like it's like a component that lives on every page that doesn't behave well in FastBoot. So once I fix that, I kind of fix like a whole bunch of pages. But yeah, I would probably like get like the core pages of our site tested with this.
And it's sort of related, but not really related question about testing. So you mentioned that window.local storage, you know, Windows is really a thing on the server side. So what do you do about that? Is there a different storage mechanism that you can take advantage of?
Yeah, so the question is, you know, we had window.local storage and you start adding FastBoot. There's no window.local storage in FastBoot, so what do you do about that? I actually found that a good example of this was we used to use Ember Screen and Ember Responsive. So those give you a bunch of template helpers for like detecting if the screen is large or small. And they don't work in FastBoot because there's no screen. like the HTTP request doesn't know anything about the resolution. So we actually started replacing those with just CSS media selectors to do page layout stuff based on screen size. So I think that if I had an app that was using local storage, I would either find, I guess if it had to use local storage, I would like wrap some service in like a local storage like API that behaved well on the server, that like emulated local storage on the server. I don't think that really makes a lot of sense, but something like that. But I think more importantly, like if you're writing an Ember app and you're using FastBoot, you really want to avoid those browser APIs because they're going to cause trouble with your app.
Open up EmberMap and show the server client thing that you did.
Yeah.
You still have EmberMap on your computer, right?
Nah. What was it called? It was like client.
Everything ejects on my brain after 2 days, so we're going to have to video on that.
So we have this in EmberMap. We have this helper called RenderingContext, and RenderingContext takes it's an object that takes two functions, server and client. And when we're running this on the server, we invoke what is in this method in this function, and when we're running on the client, we invoke what's in this function. So this is a way we can guard against, like if we did need something browser specific, I would use something like this to guard against it.
Like in this case.
Like in this case, yeah. This is based on like current user stuff, and FastBoot is like a shared instance, and we don't want to put current user stuff in there in case it leaks. That would be bad. Even though it shouldn't, like that's kind of would be a bad mistake. And I've seen people take this sort of approach and do something with decorators. So they would do like something like this, and this would tell before model like not to run on the server because it's only decorated with client.
It's also because our caching, we don't want FastBoot to block on the current user. We cache all of our FastBoot responses. So if like Sam made a request and it had current user info, that's what would end up in the cache. And then like I would visit the page and I would see, yeah. So.
Awesome.
Cool.
Thank you very much, Ryan.
Thanks.
All right, cool. Cory's going to get set up. Just have a minute here. We'll get set up. Grab a water. Yeah, there's one through that door.
Just like that, yeah.
All right, cool.
All right.
No one can hear me. So Cory will have to introduce himself, or I'll just shout at him. Okay.
I don't even know if it's picking up. Is it good, Sam? Oh, okay,
Yeah.
good. All right, cool.
Okay, awesome. We'd like to welcome Cory Forsyth to give us our first talk in a while. This is pretty exciting. He's going to talk about Ember Table. Cory is a fantastic part-time NYU instructor who also moonlights as an Ember.js developer here at Addepar during the day. So,
true.
Cory.
Thanks. So this is a talk that is sort of adapted from a training I gave here. That training was an hour, and I struggled to fit it all in. So I'm going to try to take a few shortcuts, jazz it up a little bit, for prime time with you all. This is about Ember Table, which is probably the most well-known, I would imagine, add-on, open source Ember add-on that Addepar maintains. Addepar is we do financial data displays, portfolio analysis, and stuff like that. And so, as you can imagine, there's a lot of tables that we need to generate and show to people. So it's like one of the core technological competencies, I guess I would say, of Addepar. So we had a lot of tables in our app, and then the app grew, and the table code didn't sort of scale with it, and then we took a long time to rebuild an entirely newly rewritten version of it to support new modern Ember, and that was Ember Table version 2.0, which was released this summer. And it is basically future compatible up to modern Ember, but still straddles back to Ember 1.13, which we need it for in our flagship app. And it's designed to be very flexible because those are the needs that we have. We have very flexible, or very many different sort of use cases that our tables have to support. So the add-on is designed to be very flexible and allow them to all be handled. So at Addepar, here are a couple examples of the sort of very complicated tables with you can see nested rows and selection and occlusion rendering and column reordering and nested columns and stuff like that, and all of that is supported by Ember Table. I'll talk a little bit about some specifics of this right now. So the structure of this is just that I will sort of take us from no table to a minimum viable table to a few extra bells and whistles, and if anyone wants to, you're welcome to live code along. But okay, but I'm intending to take some corners and cut a few corners here, make it hard to really follow, but I'll do my best. Okay, yes. So I have a little repo that has this demo. We're going to be adding features like live updating, sorting, handling row selection, and a little bit of additional customization of the table. The repo is here, github.com/bantic/Ember Table and that link will stay on the next couple of slides. So it'll just hover up there in the right, and I will start talking. Oh, I forgot the fun fact also about Ember. Ember Table also powers Ember Inspector. The tables that you see in Ember Inspector are Ember Table powered tables. Okay, so first step is to I've checked out this app, and when you clone it, you want to check out the tag setup, and you'll be where I am. And it will look like this. Nice blank canvas to build a table into. Check out my first thing. So maybe I should look at bring up the docs. Lovely Ember CLI add-on docs for Ember Table here. We have a lot. There's a lot to it, so the docs are pretty heavy duty. But to just get started out of the box with the table, you use the component that the add-on provides, and you need to tell it about the shape of your columns, and then give it your row data. And when those things line up, you can render a table with just very little code. So actually, we'll copy this right out of the docs here and paste it into my template. And let's see here. I want to put it right inside this div. Okay. Okay, so yeah, we have this Ember Table component. It yields an object that has a closure component called for the header and also one for the body. As our needs get more complex, we'll sort of decompose that into individual like rows and stuff like that. But for right now, if we just pass it the data, it has a pretty decent out-of-the-box rendering style that will look fine for us. I'm going to go create the data. Oops. So I'll give it rows.
Cory, what was the repo, the URL?
It is Bantic/Ember Table demo, all dashes. And then I'll make the columns, fill in those rows in just a second here. Makes a little more sense if you see the columns first. So in both cases, we're just returning a POJO here. Column data is an array of objects, and you tell it the name of each column. So I'll do it. We're going to make a stock table, so I'll give it a ticker symbol. You tell it the value path, which is how it reads the value from each individual row for that column. Let's call it price. And then I'll make another column called, oops, let's call this one symbol rather. And then we've got price as the second one. Okay, so that defines two columns, and then I'll just make two dummy rows. And so each one has to have a symbol property. To Apple here, Apple, APL. And then let's do Microsoft. That'll be 80, 90. Okay. Okay, so now we've got some rows and some columns. If we switch back here, we can see a little table hovering in the corner. I forgot one property. You can give your table a width constraint, which tells it how it should spread itself out. So I'm going to tell it to equal its container. That should be enough to make it, yeah, fill the space. Okay, so there's our minimum viable table. And just to clean it up, you can also, in your column definitions, you can add a little bit of alignment information. We could do this with CSS as well, but if you, on your column, if you have a text align property, it will use that to align the values and the headers in that column. So I'll put the price to the right and the ticker to the center. And there we go. So it's a nice little minimum viable table. I think that's step one. Are you with me? Who's trying? Did I? Do you need me to?
I'm tracking.
Okay, all right. I can, yeah, honestly, the slides might be better, or the diffs. I think the diffs are linked from there, so.
I didn't get the slides. Could you share the slides?
The slides are bit.ly / Ember NYC table. And then you can follow along a little bit more easily at your own pace.
Check that master. I have the final version, I think.
Yes. Oh yeah, you needed the setup tag. Sorry, I did not make that super clear. Okay, so then the next step is to actually start filling out the table with more information. And to do that, if you're following along, the next, to catch up to where we are, you would check out the basic table tag, and we're going to move forward from that. This is a place where I'm going to cut a corner because I just want to copy and paste in some code that I wrote to create some dummy price information and row information. So I'm going to copy all of that in. And I'm going to use that to create my rows instead of hard coding them like I did. So rows, now I'm just going to return rows. I'll create, give myself a num rows property of 25. So this should start it out with 25 sort of dummy created rows. And there they are. And because the table has an enforced height, it has this nice scrolling occlusion rendering provided by vertical collection. So I don't know exactly how many rows off screen are rendered, but not very many. And that's a core part, obviously, of our needs at Addepar. We have tables with tens of thousands of rows and stuff like that, but in general, it's just good nice and good performance for your table if you only render what you see.
Oh, this one.
How are we doing over there? Cool. All right. So what else did I want to show in this slide? Oh yeah, I'm going to add a button to add some more rows so we can see what it's like when we add new data. So I'll add an action called add rows that's going to just push objects onto our rows. And then over in the template, I will add a button that's wired up to that action. So now we have this add rows button that will read the value of the rows and add some more. So there's 25. I'm at the bottom. If I hit enter, I get 25 more. I can keep scrolling. Let me add like 500. And you can see now we've got like a table, and we're really showing off that occlusion rendering. Cool. OK. Questions about where I am with this so far? OK, I'll keep going. OK, so the next step is Ember Table provides out-of-the-box sorting capabilities. You opt into it by using a very data-down, actions-up paradigm. If you give your table a sorts property and then you give it an action to handle when sorts change, it will wire those two up together for you, and you basically just get sort of sorting for free out of the box. And so I'll do that. We're going to add a sorts property onto our table header. And I'll just put an empty property there. It's going to fill it up. And then the way you opt into sorting is you had on update sort. We give an action to just update those sorts. And so those two things together actually are all we need to turn on sorting for the table. I think I've got some nice, somewhere in here, I've got, got all these diffs flying around all over the place. I think I've got some handy dandy CSS to make it also look a little bit nicer. Yes, that's it. I want to import my table sorting CSS. When a column is being sorted, it gets an ET sort indicator, Ember Table sort indicator class, and you can just use that to style so you have a little indicator showing whether you're going up or down. And so those things together should have, uh-oh, maybe I broke something? Should have been enough to give us sorting. Let's see. So I added my sort. Oh, here it is supposed to be sorts. Oops. OK. There we go.
Compare function?
That's coming.
Okay.
On update sorts. I didn't name my action properly. Pluralized. Yes, thank you. OK, now we get this nice thing, and we can sort like this. But yeah, the on updates, the compare function allows you to specify on your own how you want to compare. By default, it's just going to do a lexicographical sort, so basically alphabetical order. And that breaks down because the cells over here in the price column are strings. And so you can see that as I am sorting them, it's definitely 9, 5, 4, 4, 4, but it's not actually in order of the value. And that is why we write that compare function. We'll pull that in over here. It's a function that just checks to see if the properties appear to be numeric, and if so, it parses them into actual numbers. And then here it uses Ember's compare function, which I have to import. Cool. And so with those things together, the price. Oh, and I also have to pass it in. I have to tell the table that's how it should compare.
I gotta get you set up with this Ember template linting, or prettier thing.
What do you mean?
VS Code extension that will auto-format your templates.
Is it like this one? Or? Okay, yes, then I need it. Yeah. Because I deliberately don't.
It's awful.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, okay. I do need that.
I'll hook you up.
All right, great.
I know a guy.
So now we've got properly sorted prices. They are sorted as though they are numbers, and the ticker still sorts as though it is a string. Okay. The next phase is to add live updating. This one I think I'm just going to sort of paste my way into it. I pulled in Ember concurrency here to do a little bit of time-based, just sort of live animation. It's useful for our demo purposes because when you see the table updating live, it's a lot easier to see some of these things actually happening. In the first case, I'm just going to add the ability to adjust the prices in the table. I'll start by adding another column called the change in price. Makes it a little easier to see and just makes our table feel a little more realistic. So I'm going to add a column called change. And again, the columns are just done as plain old JavaScript objects with the properties that describe how to read the data. And so I need to actually add a property called change to each row. And I'm going to find my create row function, give it a default change. Create row. Create row. There we go. And I'm going to make a format change function. And what else do I need here? Oh, I've written a function to sort of do a fake adjusting of the price. I think that, okay, and then I just need to add this action that actually does the work. So I'll copy that down into there. No, not quite. Unfortunately, I don't have Yeah, it's not all somewhere for me to copy and paste it in. Okay, so we have and I need to add. I'll add it to the template as well. I wish I could go this fast. I know, right? Yeah, you just have to find the right diff.
That's the trick. Breaking code, that's easy. Getting the right diff.
So this adjust prices action is going to go through every row. 40% of the time, it's going to create a new price from the old price. It's going to update the change and the price property on that row. I wired it up to a button. So, boom. Okay, now every time I do it, we're getting a good price changes, a little bit of movement there. Unfortunately, we have a problem now, which is that if as you watch how I adjust prices, I'm sorting by the change descending. It is immediately out of date, right? It got out of sync with reality. Anyone know why, based on what you see here, or have a guess?
You didn't code fast enough.
The update came in from the currency thing, and it didn't act.
Yeah, I'm updating only the property on the row. Ember Table isn't aware that the rows array itself. It's not smart enough to watch the sort property itself on each row. So the fix for that is to just I'm gonna reset the rows every time I adjust the prices. So I'm gonna, instead of setting these on them, I'm going to map it into a new row with price. You know what? It's going to be easier if I just copy paste it out of here. It's going to look like
easier, but
This-
less exciting.
It is a little less. I mean, it's less of a tightrope act for me too. Actually, how about I'm gonna reset hard to this tag to make things a little bit easier, if you don't mind. Okay. And we'll go through the diff, but I'll prove to you first that it works. So, okay, so here we go. We have our little animate prices button now. First I'll show you that by resetting the rows property, what we do is we just, at the end of it, we set the rows to the newly mapped rows with their new data, that does, in fact, actually fix the change problem. It stays, you can see it stays sorted every time I adjust the prices this time, yeah. And then we can also like set it animating, and now 1 second it sort of is changing. You can see it stays sorted. We can sort by any of the other columns at the same time. I did this afternoon. It's sort of fun. If we take that time out, we can really make it hum. Make it happen 16 milliseconds. That's 60 FPS, right?
Yeah.
And so yeah, let's do it. Let's give it 500 rows and just watch it go sing. It's sort of fun, right? Yeah. So that's that occlusion rendering working for us, huh?
Yeah, you show the DOM.
The DOM.
Why it is so fast.
Yes. Let's see if I can make this all come together here. So, yeah, you can see, let's see, how many rows are that? That's like about 20 rows total that are being rendered, right? So even though, as I scroll through it, it's the occlusion rendering is really working in our favor here. It's pretty nice, yeah. Cool.
So that's like Ember rendering all that stuff. I mean, it's all ends up doing Ember rendering.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Well,
Yeah.
only the 20 rows.
Right.
Yeah.
Those, and they're being updated. It's not going outside of Ember.
No.
Ever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. Yep. Mm-hmm. Okay. Cool. So next, how am I doing on time? Am I okay?
Yes.
Okay. I think I've got like 2 more sort of like phases here. Next one is, let's talk about adding selection to our table. So selection works roughly the same way as the sorting does. You opt into it by giving the table properties that explain to it what the selection is and how to react to changes to selection. These are the selection property and the onSelect action. So let's see if I have this here and can do this right. Might just have to copy paste it. Let's see. I want to, okay, let's see. The property to add to the table, yeah, there we go. Okay, selection and onSelect are the 2. So on our table, I can add a selection. Oh, this one, let's see, does this go on the, yeah, this goes on the T body this time. Tables can have bodies and footers, and so you specify you can have a different selection on the footer and the body. So you want to add this property. Yeah. Mm-hmm. They separately manage. Yeah, this is the source of a bug that I had to fix in our application. So let me just put that in there. So we'll say selection equals selection, and then onSelect. Same thing as before, we're just going to modify the selection. Try to make this look a little readable.
Got it.
Yeah, no, okay, I'll see you after to fix this up. Cool, so that should be enough, honestly, to do the selection. I can bring in, I have a little bit of extra CSS that handles the selection. Oops. What's it doing? There we go. Let's show you what it looks like. I believe Ember is selectable as a class that's added by Ember Table, and is selected as a class that's added by Ember Table. So between the 2 of those, you have everything you sort of need to at least at a very superficial overall level, add a little selection. It looks like this out of the box. That's because the table, and I think this was sort of driven by a use case for us, you can select either by clicking on the row, or you can have an optional checkbox next to it. And that there are multiple modes for how multiple selection is handled and stuff like that. I'm going to opt out of the selection of with the checkbox by setting, did I lose it? Checkbox selection mode to none. That just also makes it look a little nicer. But the docs explain all sorts of different options you have for how you want to handle those. OK, now it looks nice and tight again. And you can see that I can click and select things. Yeah. And they stay selected even as you sort and stuff like that. Unfortunately, they don't stay selected if I were to click Adjust Prices. That's because, anyone want to take a guess? I'll show you the code while I explain it. Yeah, Ryan.
New rows.
New rows, yes. Yes, yeah, I replaced the array of rows, and there's no object constancy between the two. So you can you would fix this in different ways. If we weren't resetting the rows every time, it wouldn't be a problem. But since we are, the way I selected it here was just when we click this, I'm going to read the selection off of the object. And after I set the rows, I'm going to create a new selection by mapping the old one onto new row objects. For each of those, it's going to be a row. I'm going to return new rows, .find new row.
JavaScript code in your EmberMap?
And then I'll say this dot selection equals new selection. That should do it. Did this do it? Let's see. So I select that one. I adjust the prices. Nope, I got it wrong. What did I do? Let's see. Oh, I'm going to copy and paste. That's the right idea, but I might have just forgotten something. So I'll just copy and paste from my diff over here.
Oh, you didn't set.
Oh, I didn't use set.
Like an Octane
Yeah, you're right. Yeah, my head is all like, because I was updating this for Octane this morning, and then I decided not to, just in favor of making sure it worked. OK, so I think that should be enough to fix my problem. Yes. OK, now they all stay. Select multiple as I adjust them or animate them. They all stay.
And you sort it and everything?
Sorting still works as well. They're way down there. Yeah, and they're shooting around. It's like if you could read really fast this table. Does anyone remember the old dbmon? Yes. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, this is like.
And the cool thing is that it's maintaining the selected state too, independent of the component lifecycle, right? Like the state bucket is totally decoupled from the actual rendering, because the rendering doesn't go outside of Ember.
Mm-hmm.
Pretty cool.
Yeah.
Yep.
Cool. Okay, so last step, and this is okay. So this is just this one. I'm actually gonna check out to it. What is it called? Row colors. This is just to sort of show that it's possible, like the easy way that you can sort of iteratively get into customizing. It's easiest just to copy and paste it because there's actually nothing to it. So before we were just rendering the body without a block and passing it the data, and it would render every cell. Now I'm giving it a yielded block. Each body then provides a closure component for the row, and that will yield out the row, and then I can use that to get a cell closure component and just render the value of the cell. And there's all sorts of ways. Obviously, here you could use your own component entirely to render the cell if you wanted to, or something like that. The reason I did it is so that I could have a special class for every row that depends on the row value. I'll show you that helper. It looks at the percentage change for that row and then just gives it a ramped color from bright green for a big change to bright red for a big negative change.
Percent change is just a property on the web.
Percent change, yeah, also yeah, that came in on this. I added a new column called percent change, which is derived from the change, just like price was and stuff like that, yeah. And it looks like this. I'll start it. It's back to 1 second updates now because I checked out. But yeah, so now we have this like sort of nice customized color that gives us an at a glance view of you know, how the different symbols are doing as you scroll around. Is there any more? I guess that was those are the live coding, sort of live copy pasting things I wanted to show. It like showed off the basic row column structure, opting into data down actions up, sorting and selection, customization of the stuff. Yeah, and then I guess the sort of mic drop bonus is that this entire time the columns have been reorderable. That just comes right out of the box with the thing. We had to do nothing for that. We could have done that at any step. It was always there. Yeah. Yeah.
Now, if you change a column, like if you drag a column, does it update your template file in your code?
I wish. No. Yeah. There is an action you can listen to when you get the reorder if you want to, like if you have a data back thing and you want to
push it to
exactly.
the server.
Yeah, there are other features that I haven't covered here. You can fix certain columns in place if you want, like if you've got a bunch of ones showing out to the right and you want to keep the leftmost one in place.
Basically recreating Excel at this point.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, just like slowly but surely, that is definitely, I think, where we're going. I didn't talk at all about nested child data, but that's as easy as adding a children property to any row. Then it gets displayed as a nested row below that one, and selection sort of handles that as well. And yeah, all this stuff is at the docs, and so you are welcome to check it out there and play with it, and also come back to us with questions and feature requests and so on. Yeah. Thank you very much.
I have a question. It seems like there's like a lot of customization possible. Is there a way to use it that's like fully renderless almost, where it's like, I feel like more and more UI libraries these days are trying to provide the option to be like completely unopinionated about styling and stuff, and leave so much of that up to you. So curious if there was a way to do that, or if there was ideas for how you could do that, like how to basically opt out of the styling completely, start from scratch, almost starting with like a reset table. Obviously, in y'all's cases, you want a lot of consistency across your apps, and that makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah, Ember Table does ship with its own styles, but they're pretty minimal, and they're mostly just like for some structural concerns, like to make sure we do some sort of funky stuff with like stickiness for in cases where you've got like a footer that has to stick at the bottom of the table. And most of the idea of the styling is that it makes that work properly. But almost all like the actual visible stuff that you saw was stuff that I had written for this. So it's sort of almost styleless out of the box. It's not a totally easy, seamless experience, but I think like it's almost fully customizable. It
should support any table design.
It should, I think. Yeah.
And how do you do that? Do you target selectors that make up the structure of the table?
Yeah. I'm not sure to what degree this was like a sort of a guiding philosophy. I think it largely was, especially because our previous version of table did a bunch of, it had like all sorts of fake DOM, like the div right block of table, div left block of table. This is all semantic table stuff. So you got table, t-head, tr, t-body, td. So if you add styles to those as you would expect, it would show up just like you would think.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Cool. I just want to, I have a comment and a question.
Yeah.
We use Ember Table in one of our client apps.
Ah, nice.
And, there was always like this tension before we used it, where we would have to like remove a column in order to add a column. And once we added Ember Table, we got the horizontal scrolling. The users, they freaking love it.
Oh, all right. I love it. Yeah. Okay. Good. Yeah.
My question is the occlusion scrolling. I noticed that I'm not sure what the term to describe this is. It's like, it's almost like an iframe or an overflow div. How do you, do you do anything? Yeah, so like right on the table scrolling.
Yeah.
The page. Do you do anything in your layouts to accommodate this? How do you just to
Yeah.
Can you repeat the question?
Sure. Yeah. So the question was how do we in our layouts accommodate like fixed height tables like this to make sure that they can scroll? Yeah. If this does have a fixed height, I think it's like 40 VH or something like that. If it didn't have that, it wouldn't have this nice scrolling feature. We actually had a bad bug when like.
We want to set up heights on the table.
Yeah.
And the client, because they have so much data, they would load up like 50,000 rows and it would like freeze up the browser.
We lost the selector at one point. Yeah, and so the table was like 14 pages tall essentially, and the whole browser crashed. Yeah, I mean, I guess that's roughly something that we test for now in that specific case, but visual regression tests. Sure. I don't know if we have like a very deliberate way though that we do it. We have a lot of things that are like in flexbox layouts and that are forced to take up a certain height. I think we do a lot of fixing of the height.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do you show any layouts that were like showing ways y'all use it in your app, like where these tables show up in the context of the rest of the app?
Can I? I don't know what I'm allowed to show. Alex?
I think test data should be okay.
There's definitely
I don't actually have. I don't know if I can. Yeah. I can show you separately after. I'm not totally sure. I also don't have it running, so it'll take me a minute to pull it up.
You were asking.
But
when the user is scrolling the body and then they get to a table, it can be awkward sometimes when the mouse all of a sudden is scrolling the table.
Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
They're usually fixed. They usually scroll through the table, not through the page.
Not through the page.
Yeah.
So like the table is like the main.
I see what you mean. Yeah, you're talking about the inertial scroll taking you somewhere else once you hit the top of the table or something.
Like something.
Yeah.
A spot where we're playing with that now is like on some of the designs that we were looking at for mobile are being presented as like, oh, then the table will go in here inside of a scrolling box, and it'll be like, oh, you scroll when you use your thumb above it, but then in the box you're scrolling the table, but then below you're scrolling the page again, and that comes down to this odd.
Is there like a way to do occlusion scrolling where you're still only rendering those 20 rows, but it feels like you're moving the body page, you're moving the body.
Oh, interesting.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I don't know of any library that does that. Like you would be scrolling the whole page.
Yeah, like your scroll container is the page.
Yeah.
Yes.
I think you would have to fit.
Not a bunch of padding and make it full screen.
Intersection observers instead, a different use case. You use intersection observers to find out if the thing is on the visible to the user. Use that to decide if you want to render or render it or not. Which we are doing with we have a report editor actually, which is a different use case, not a table, but has many pages. All pages have tons of content, and so we don't want to render content that you're not looking at if we can. So we use intersection observers on all those to decide what things should actually be there.
Okay.
You might be able to make a scroll-like functionality with that. Yeah, but I mean, I think the answer in our case is we mostly dodge the question because we have full height sort of layouts. Nothing actually scrolls vertically on them other than like a table.
Your app is mostly body is like 100 VH basically, and then the table like flex, and then you have room for headers.
Yeah.
The rest of it will just be a table.
It's like a kiosk mode sort of experience. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Another thing you can play around with is vertical collection. Instead of 100%, but then the big container you scroll, for example, so on done you can get that body scrolling rows that you but I actually haven't tried to implement it, so potential avenue.
Mm-hmm.
Very cool.
Cool.
Awesome. Cool.
Thanks.
Cory.
Thank you.
It's no longer hot.
It was a cold mic. Okay, thank you very much for anyone online and for those of you here in the room. Charming to have you. Let's go downstairs and have a drink to ring out the year.
All right.
Sounds good? Sounds great. Thank you very much, Cory. Thank you, Ryan.
Thank you.
Cheers.